everyone, this is Gayle, and today's tutorial is going to be on how to make an owl. Now I'm going to try to make this small enough that I could make a pendant out of it, but yet large enough for you to see it. If I were doing this just for me, I would probably use a different size. But I'm going to show you now, and I'll include several different ways of making the feathers for the owl, or, you know, it's just going to be several different methods that I'm going to show you, and I'll decide as I go along which one I'll use to make my owl. So let's get started. Okay, first off, you know my situation with all of these extra canes that I have. So I have decided to use up some of my canes, which is because most of my leaf canes are either green, and I don't want a green owl. Most of my darker canes are wrapped in black, which is still going to make it dark. But I wanted to show you, I don't know if you remember these or not, these are the scraps that I took from my mermaid tail. And they've got some perfect pearls on them, and I may add some more as I go along. This is I'm sure you can't see, it's a very dark red, I don't even know exactly what it was. I had it in my flower centers, excuse me, but I thought that would make a pretty feather for an owl. And then this is some of the same cane that I cut in half and flattened. I was trying to see what that would look like. I've got several of those. I also had some black and gold. Let me see if I can cut this in half so you can see what it looks like on the inside. Some black and gold. It was actually gold wrapped in black, and I squished it together, cut it in half, squished it together, cut it in half, and just kept going. And made sort of a little teardrop shape, which, well, it will be a teardrop shape when I get it done, but that's going to add some gold to it to try to lighten it a little. And I have this cane, which is a swirl cane, which is some dark red and gold, which I think will tie everything together. So there's a couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to reduce some of these solid canes down and slice them, or make a little teardrop shape and then slice them, like I did with this. And then others I'm going to cut in half and cut feathers out of these. So it just depends on what type you want to do, but that's just to give you a heads up. So if you want to start making some canes, and actually a leaf cane works very well with this if your leaves are not green, unless you want a green owl. I really don't want a green owl, but here's a leaf cane, and I believe this is one that we covered in one of my tutorials. But this would, if you make this smaller and then slice it, that would make real pretty feathers. And I may do that just because this is a darker metallic green. I might do that with this one. But anyway, I'm going to start, excuse me, by molding the shape. And I've got two balls of clay. One is going to be for the head and one is going to be for the body. So let me take my head and let me come in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to press this kind of flat. And this may be bigger than what I really wanted. I can already tell it's probably going to be too big. I may have to trim this down. And you know, the easiest way to do this is to use a circle cutter. So let me find a good size circle cutter. think I'll use this one. And then by the time I push this down and make it flat around the edges, it will be a good size. Okay, now there's going to be my owl, and this is going to be his face. Now a good way to mark this is to take the back side of your blade and find the center, which is about there, and just make a little mark. You don't want to cut it, you just want to make a mark, because your eyes are going to go they're going to be right on that line. So let me just make a big circle with my ball tool, and I'll make another big circle on this side, and they are right on that line. So I'm going to take, and actually I can take the other side of this tool because it's got a flat end. I'm going to make some little creases around the edges of his eyes. And I'll do that on both eyes. Okay, can you see this? See, I've got his creases. That shiny spot that you see in here is just the clay. It's nothing in there yet. Okay, and then I'm going to make a crease down the middle. And I'm just going to use this because it's beveled. I'm going to just take this crease and go down the middle. Just kind of shape around this way. Now, I wrote all my instructions down, so I need to refer to them once in a while. Just refine as you go. I'm sorry, maybe I should have used a color other than black. It's going to make it hard for you to see. But then I'm going to put a crease down each side here, because I'm going to form a beak. And I'm just going to take a piece of this clay that I cut off. I'm not sure how big it needs to be. But I want to make a sort of a teardrop shape. And kind of lay it on here. And use, you can have, excuse me, you can use a ball tool, which I'll get one out. Let me find one that's got a decent size on the end to smooth it. Or you can take a clay tool. But you don't want a seam showing. And I'm going to put a little hook in his beak because I think most owls have that hooked type beak. And I'll probably need to trim off some of this. And we'll trim up so it'll maintain that hook. And while I'm doing this, I'm just going to cut from below the beak off. And here you can use a needle tool or whatever tool you have. You can kind of refine these feathers. These little creases were supposed to look like feathers. Let me get a piece of scrap to just kind of change the lines that you made. Just take a needle tool or some kind of tool that will make thinner lines. I chose black for this because of my other canes being wrapped in black, but I'm thinking maybe I probably should have chosen a different color. I want to show you the difference in the side that I refined here with my needle tool and this one that just has the creases. You can see the one with the creases really doesn't look like owl feathers. So I'm going to just continue to refine this side also. Just to give it the look of feathers. Okay, now I'm going to take another piece of this scrap and roll a little. That's probably too much. Get some of my tools out of the way. But I've got this little piece here that I'm going to put across the top. Kind of make his ears. Then I'm going to take this, whoops, if I don't throw my tools around, I'm going to take the same tool and crease this in the center. And then take my needle tool again and make this look like feathers. Just put a few little lines in it. And what I'm thinking about doing is when I finish with this, because it's so dark, I will probably use a silver or a gold mica powder to go over it just to add so you can see the dimension that's in here, because right now you can't see a whole lot because of the black. But there it is. Now for the eye, I'm just going to get some scrap clay and let me see what I've got that would make a nice eye for this owl. I think owls kind of have yellowish eyes. Is that right? Let me go back and make... So I think I'll just take some yellow. And like I said, you can change the color with mica powders if you don't like what the yellow looks like. But I'm going to... That's too big. Let me cut this one in half. And put them down in that hole. And then take my ball tool and press that. And I think I'll take a little tiny piece of black and put it in the center. Try to get them both about the same size. They don't have to be exact, but at least close. They look about the same size. Put those in the center and do the same thing. Only this time I'm going to use a smaller ball tool. And just press in the center. And there is the head of my owl. Now for the body, I've got this other piece of clay. And I need to elongate it. Let me come back out a little bit. I need to elongate it. And that's going to be way too big, which is good because I need some clay for the wings. I'm going to just cut this maybe that much. And I'll cut this in half. Those will be my wings. But you don't want this too thick because you're going to be putting clay on top of it. Actually, I think this needs to come down. I was trying to get it so it would fit up around the head, but I think the head curves down more than up. I think that's about the right size. I'm going to narrow it down at the bottom. And then just put it up next to the head and just use your ball tool to kind of put it together. It would probably be a good idea to go from the back also. See, there's a lot of space in the back. I might even put a little piece of clay in there to take up that space. Just be careful that you don't undo all the detail that you did. And we can refine that later. I don't want to mess up his beak. Now this is where the fun starts. After you're satisfied with the shape, and I may make him a little bit squatty. Well, I don't know. I can come out the sides this way. I think I like that better. And I know this isn't in the way, but it's bugging me. So I'll get that little piece gone. So this is where the fun starts. I'm going to set him aside a little bit. And this is where I'm going to start making some of my feathers. Now, I'm going to put this on a card so it'll be easy to pick up. And I want to show you what I'm going to do. This is one of the canes that I cut in half and then rolled flat. And it's an old cane. I didn't condition it too much before I rolled it, so it's cracked on the edges. But we're going to be using a teardrop cutter on this one. Oops, got out my heart cutter by mistake. My teardrops are where? I've got so many different shaped cutters. Let me find my teardrop cutter and I'll be right back. Okay, here's my little teardrop cutter. And what I'm going to do is cut some of these little teardrop shapes out of this clay. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my, well, that could really be a little bit thinner. Let me roll this a little thinner. You don't want them too thick or they're not going to look like feathers. Let's try this. If this doesn't work, then I'll have to cut them with the, let me roll it through the pasta machine. That's a good thickness. So let me press this down. And just cut this in the middle so I don't waste all of it. And just, I'm going to mix the petals up. I'm going to do different rows with different colors. And I'm doing that because I don't want my owl to be just very monotone. So I will probably cut several of these reds. I'll cut as many as I can, but I'm going to continue cutting, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I have cut out the ones, these are the red ones, and these are the black iridescent ones, the feathers that I cut out, and I used this Kemper cutter for most of them, but then I got out my little teeny tiny one and did some of these little small ones, because you never know where you might have to fit in a small feather, you know, somewhere. So that is all I'm going to cut out. Now the rest of them I'm going to cut. I've got canes that I'm going to slice. And let me just get these out of the way before I end up messing these up totally. And what I've done is I've lined these up on a card, and I've got the gold ones that I put together, I've got the swirls, and then I've got the green leaves. And I'm laid them on this card because I'm going to slice these with my Lucy slicer. And I'm going to turn the camera off mainly because I need to be able to turn the video because this is going to show sideways. But I do want you to see how the Lucy slicer works, so I will be right back. Okay, here is my Lucy slicer, and I have put my canes, and they don't have to be on a card. I just thought this would make it easier. But I've laid my canes in here, and now I need to roll these up. There's a little handle back here until they reach the blade. There, it's back a little bit too far for these canes. And I will wait until it slices. There. And you have to be very careful because this is a very sharp blade. But now we know that all those slices are even across the top, across the front. So now I'm going to pull this up, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of a turn. That's probably too thin. Okay, there's one slice. Can you see the slices? Let me pull them out for you. Let me use my blade. So you can cut several slices at one, several canes at one time, as long as you want the same thickness. And I'll go 1, 2, I think I'll do 3. One and a half, maybe. I think that works better. I'm not doing a very good job trying to do these on this card, but you get the idea. Let me turn this back down. Okay, now I'm back over here. I haven't finished cutting my slices, but I just wanted to show you how this Lucy slicer sliced everything. Not that I'm endorsing it, because it is expensive. These are the ones that I did a little bit too thick. But you can see you can slice several canes at one time and they'll all be the same thickness. I'm very challenged when it comes to doing hand slices, but that's how I'm going to finish these. Let me get these thick ones out of the way. But I wanted to show you how that worked. Let me slice the rest of these by hand, and you'll see you could do it the same way, but mine aren't going to be quite as straight and precise as the Lucy clay slicer. But I'll have enough to work with of all the different colors. Okay, this is a pretty small owl, so I'm probably not going to use anywhere near all these slices and cane slices that I've got. But at least I have a variety that I can choose from. And what we're going to do, first, we're not going to do the wings yet. But first, I've got to decide what colors I want to put where. And his body is just a little bit crooked. There. Is that better? Or did I move it at all? Sorry about that. Just a little Lola crisis. But while I was gone, I realized that I needed to start putting my feathers on at the bottom. And I think that's where I'm going to use the longer green ones. Because they are longer, I'm going to let them overlap a little. And let them look like tail feathers since they're longer. Let me get these little ones out of the way. And just lay those along the bottom. Tell you, since I'm not working with these just yet, I'm going to move these back over here out of the way. And bring you in a little bit. Yeah. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. Because these are leaf canes, you do want them to all point in the same direction. The veins need to all point down. But I think I'm going to put some over top of it. That's not a very pretty one. It's one thing about having all these different slices, you can pick the ones you like. And you don't have to use canes like I made. You can use your own colors. And we'll see how that looks. But from there on, I'm going to come up over top so that the points look more like feathers. I may add a couple more just to make it a little featherier looking. So you can see why they need to be thin, because you might end up layering. There. So that's going to be like his tail feathers. I know they don't have pointed tails, but I'm going to put one there anyway just to even it out. And now I'll go to the different colors. So let me get the greens out of the way. And then I'll bring in some of these other colors too. Let me put this over here. I'll put my owl in the middle, then maybe you can see better. So I think I'm going to go with a row of the dark red. And be sure you go all the way to the edges, because you're going to be seeing this from the side. There's a row of red, and I think now I'll go with a row of these swirls, and I'll point one end, and I'll start down there on the end. And like I said, you can use lighter colors if you like. You could use all one color. You could like use an ecru and then use perfect pearls or Inca golds or something to add your color to it. I'm just trying to use up some canes. Now I think I will go with a row of the gold. I'm just going to concentrate on the center because I'm going to be putting the wings on, and the wings are going to cover up a lot of this. I think I'll cut this because there's green in his tail. I think I'm going to cut this green and put it over the red. Needs to be a little narrower. Probably should have cut a little bit more off of that one. And before I go up around the neck, I'm going to do the wings. So you know I've got these 2 pieces of clay sitting here. And what I'm going to do is press it flat. Do that to both of them. Press them a little flat. Make them kind of a half moon shape. I think there was more clay on this half than the other, so I'm going to pinch a little bit off the bottom just to make it a little bit more the same size. They don't have to be exact. Okay, they're about the same size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this along this side. And this is a little bit long. So let me just trim this off at the bottom. Just make it a little bit shorter. Make sure it goes all the way up to the top and just let it come down along this side. And let me make this one a little bit shorter. Do the same thing over here. And you can see I probably should have, let me come in a little bit. You can see I didn't fill in through here like I should have, but I can pull the wings up and just fill that in because I haven't pressed these down to where they're really stuck yet. So let me see, these are the gold ones. I'll fill in here with some gold. And then there was a red one. And then there was a cut off green one. You just have to kind of work as you go. And I like to use either my blade or my knife. Alright, that's going to cover up that side. Probably need one more gold one right there. And then there we go. And on this side, I probably need at least one. I'll probably do a couple. And then a red. And another cut off green. Then I can put his wing back. And here's where, well, I'll do that last. I was getting ready to say this is where I'll put the gold around here, but I'll do that last. So we've got his tail, we've got his wings here that we need to cover. So let's do that in, I haven't used this black iridescent. You start that with that on the tips. I'm going to do some kind of a stripe. Maybe I'll do a red and the iridescent stripe on his wings. Start filling in with the little ones. Okay. Now that seems to be about it. I'm going to take another piece of patty paper and lay over top and press this in to make sure that all these little feathers are stuck. And you know the middle is going to be down lower because you've got your wings over, but just make sure all the feathers are stuck. And that way it doesn't stick to your fingers. And I'll show you a little bit closer. But there's our owl. But I do think I am going to press these down a little bit so they don't sit up quite so high. Or else I'll have to add something to the back of his head. Well, that looked okay. Alright, so I'm going to move all of my feathers out of the way. Put them all on one card so I don't, because I don't have a lot of space. And then get out my perfect pearls. And let's see what I can do with some perfect pearls. I think I'm going to use is this sparkle gold? perfect gold. I've got perfect gold. I've got sunflower sparkle. Something to lighten him up a little bit. I've even got some copper. What color is this? This is perfect bronze. That ought to be pretty. Alright, so let's see what I can do without messing him up too much. I do need something on his face to brighten him up. So I've got some gold, so I probably ought to stick with some gold, but I think I'm going to put the copper on first. And I'm just going to pick it up from the lid. I'm not going to pick up any else on my brush. And just kind of lightly brush over this. I could use my finger. Let's add just a little bit. I don't want the perfect pearls to go down into the grooves. Because I want the little grooves to still be there. So you got to be careful not to put too much on. Just lightly brush over the top. I like that copper. And I might add a little bit of copper, just come down his feathers. On his wings. Okay, I'm going to leave that out in case I decide to add anywhere else. I just wanted to highlight his wings. And I don't know if you can see it, but it does. It just adds a little bit of glimmer to his wings. And I'm going to need something, I don't know, let me take a piece of clay and see what this sunflower sparkle looks like, because I need to do something for his beak. And then I've got the perfect bronze, hasn't been opened. I've never used that. And there's the bronze. And this is the gold. There, can you see those three colors? I had them out of the camera. I think I'm going to go, because he's so dark, I think I'm going to go with the bronze on his beak. And I'm going to get a little bit smaller brush because I want to make sure it only gets on his beak. This is one reason I didn't mind. Whoops, some of it got off on his feathers. I'll brush over it with something else. Maybe some of the copper. But that's why I didn't mind using the dark black, because I could add color with the perfect pearls. I think his beak is a little lopsided. He looks... Let's see, where's my tool? Just looks a little crooked. Or maybe it's just my eyes. But I don't know that he really needs a lot of anything I might take just a little bit of the gold. Which one is the gold? I got the lids. This one. So I ended up with Sunflower Sparkle. I don't want anything bright, but just to kind of add some shine. Add some shine without adding color. Does that make sense? And since I have gold clay in here, the gold will do really well. Almost stuck it in the jar. Okay. I may put a little bit of this gold right along the top of his crown. Oh, that's pretty. I might just touch a little bit on top of the copper. But there you go. How do you like our owl? I think he's pretty darn cute. Now to me, I know a lot of people like big pendants. I made the mermaid pendant and it's just too big for me. I don't wear big pendants. So what I'm thinking about doing is putting a pin back on this one and wearing it as a pin. But I think he turned out great. What about you? So if when I make up my mind what I'm going to do with him, if I do it before I post the video, I will put a picture of it. But I'm hoping to get this video posted pretty quickly, so I probably will not have a finished project. But I hope you like this. I love it. I think he is gorgeous. I can't wait to wear him. He's kind of full of fall colors too. But anyway, I will be back again in another month or so, month or 6 weeks or so, with another tutorial from my patrons, and hopefully this week with another tutorial from my polymer clay friends. So everybody have a great day. Be back soon. Bye-bye.